So the DNC finally released the long-awaited autopsy report for the 2024 election today, the one that they have been refusing to release for like 6 months now. And holy shit, it is so much worse than I thought it was going to be. And I was already certain it was going to be a shit show. It's not just that this report doesn't delve into entire issues. For example, Gaza, it just straight up is riddled with factual errors. Like nearly every single page of this, out of 192 pages, has at least one factual error on it. And by factual error, I mean literally things like getting it wrong which candidate won a particular state. That kind of factual error. It's actually, like, I have never seen anything this egregiously bad. But even worse than the report itself, it has now come out today that even though Ken Martin, the chair of the DNC, received this report all the way back in late 2025, so by late 2025, he was aware of the fact that the friend of his that he tapped to do this report, a man named Paul Rivera, Ken was aware that Paul Rivera had massively f***ed the DNC since late 2025, and yet continued to work with Paul Rivera up until basically today. Multiple staffers of the DNC have come forward and said that for months now, they've continued to see Paul Rivera coming to the DNC offices and meeting with Ken Martin because he was continuing to help manage another project that he had conceived of with Ken Martin called the Office of Strategy and Innovation. So for 6 months, basically, Ken Martin, the chair of the DNC, you good? Sorry, that was my dog. So for 6 months, Ken Martin, the chair of the DNC, was aware of how badly this friend of his had f***ed everyone over and continued to employ him until basically today when it blew up in his face. He announced to the staff at the DNC earlier today that the DNC will no longer work with Paul Rivera. But man, the DNC needs to no longer work with you either. You've had this piece of shit report since late 2025. There would have been time for y'all to actually hire someone, not just tap a friend of yours to do it for free, actually hire someone to do an autopsy if you had admitted how badly it was fucked up when you got it. Instead, you sat on it for like 6 months, lied to voters about why it wasn't being released, obfuscated what was actually going on, and broke about a bajillion promises that you made to members of the DNC when you asked for their vote to become chair. So Paul Rivera is not the only one that the DNC needs to be cutting ties with. Ken Martin needs to go. Ken Martin should be forced to resign before this week is even over.